My name is Robert Piatek. I grew up in West Park, Cleveland. All my uncles were in the military during the Second World War, and that kind of started it. And as a child, there was a TV show back on the 50s called Victory at Sea. I did not know it at the time, but my ship was one of the ships coming back home. And a couple of guys before me also joined the reserves. And plus he brought a poster in one time showing a sailor holding his son's hand, walking to the USS Constitution, and all it said was heritage. And that just says, yes, the Navy was for me. I came close to the Russians twice. Once was down in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. We stopped a freighter. And then another time, we're up around the New England states, and I come up on deck and I'm looking, and there's a Russian trawler that was painted all flat black and the glass was all smoked. And as I'm looking at it, I realized it was a spy ship right off our coast. And yes, that brought everything home that yes, this is why we're serving. We have to protect this country. Veterans Day is a good day because this celebrates those of us that by the grace of God came home. Maybe not in all in one piece, but we came home. And so that's what Veterans Day to me is. It's a celebration that I made it home.
William Makowski, and I grew up right here in Parma, Ohio. I was in the U.S. Navy, and it was always kind of nagging at me that I wanted to join the service. A lot of my uncles and my father were in the military. My father was a U.S. Navy veteran. He was in World War II and was a gunner on a Grumman TBF, and he earned a Distinguished Flying Cross. My parents tried to talk me out of it because they wanted me to finish school first and then do it. I said, no, I'm ready to do it now. We went to Japan, Yokosuka, Japan. After that, we went to Hong Kong. Hong Kong was really interesting. It was still ruled by the British. And we went there, we went out in the evening and ran into a bunch of Brits, and we're all singing songs together. It was a lot of fun. I think one of the hard things was kind of explaining the experience to people, because if you hadn't done it, you really don't know what it's about. Being in the service is a big responsibility to yourself and to others. You're not only taking care of yourself, and following the rules, but all those people around you depend on you. It's a time of not only remembrance, but more of a way of honoring the people that have served. So I think it's a good point to remember those that have served and those that are serving now. And that's the main thing I believe about Veterans Day, is to accept that sacrifice that they gave to be on the front line and be there for our country, support its values.
I'm Crystal Kent, and I grew up in Berea, Ohio. I graduated from Berea High School and Baldwin Wallace University. Well, I enlisted in the Army. I do come from a very long line of family members, dating when I did research going back to the Revolutionary War. I'm also of Lakota descent, and found out that I had some extremely distant Lakota relatives that also fought in Custer's Last Stand, and all the way up until present day, we've had family members, my family members, serving in every single branch. September 11th happened, very surreal moment. I knew on September 12th that I was going to be called up to temporary active duty, and on September 13th, I'm driving to the unit, and I stop at the corner gas station, and I'm in uniform, and there was this young boy. He had to have been 4 years old. And this is only 2 days after September 11th, and just comes running up and was like, girls can be soldiers? And I was like, yeah, girls can be soldiers. And he's like, you're a hero. And then he just hugs my leg. And then his dad comes running over and is like, I'm so sorry. And they wanted to pay for my purchase and my gas, and I was like, absolutely not. But It's a very, to see that moment after September 11th through a 4-year-old's eyes really kind of changes the landscape of your duty and your investment with your unit, your fellow service members, with your family, with the citizens around you. So, yeah, that's what it was like.
My name is Ron Wojtkiewicz, good long Polish name. Grew up in Independence, Ohio. Was drafted into the Army. And how I got there is it's a little bit of a story. Back in the 60s, you know, things were the free love period and all that. Nobody wanted to be drafted. I didn't either. So the first time around, they called me down for a physical, and I figured, well, I'm going to go on this diet, get underweight so they don't take me. That's what I did. Got up on the scale, looked at the scale, looked at me, looked at the scale. Gosh, I'm sorry, you're underweight, we can't take you. So that was good for about 18 months. I get another letter in the mail. They want me to come down and take another physical. It's just, I got this. I'm going on this diet, I'm going down there. And that's what I did. Got up on the scale, looked at me, looked at the scale, looked at me, said, you know, you don't have your shoes on. Put your shoes on. I put my shoes on, got on the scale, and I said, congratulations. And that's how I came to be in the Army, but no regrets. You know what, it was the best experience of my life. I became very patriotic. For me, if I go to a baseball game and everybody's standing there singing the Star Spangled Banner, I've got a tear in my eye. It makes me think back to all the sacrifices that our men and women went through to get where we are today.
My name's Larry Williams. I grew up around Cleveland. My childhood was in Collinwood, and then we moved to the west side, and then on to Slavic Village, and I'm still there. I don't know why I went in. I just went in. I thought, I'm just going to join the Army. And then after I was in, I'm like, wow, this is really great. I like it here. And then I kind of wanted to stay Army, but you know, it wasn't possible. So I moved over to the Navy, and I really liked it there too. I was in Saudi Arabia with them. I was like less than 30 miles from the big tank battle. And we went in with our helicopters, and we provided transportation to anybody that was injured. I didn't know what to think. I signed up and was like, well, I'm gonna do my job, whatever it may be. Every time I see another veteran, it's just like, wow, he served too, and it's the camaraderie. I just have so much respect for all them that are still there and all them that have already served. It's like a special day. Usually Veterans Day, I'm here with the 572 Honor Guard, and we're out doing ceremonies, and I like giving back.
I have a name you don't forget, Gary Perry. I grew up in greater Cleveland area, and now I live in Twinsburg. Went Navy, signed up in spring of 1968, right after the Tet Offensive. Good friend of mine came back in a box, and I said, I don't want that. I have to admit, that was a big turning point for me. My last conversation with him was, you know, it was in late '67. He told me, he said, Gary, I'm volunteering for the draft. I just want to get it over and come home and get married. You know, Well, he came home, but not to get married. Went through boot camp, and they said, well, you got good hearing, so we're going to have you go look for submarines. We were doing ops with the Australians. One of our escort ships was cut in two by the HMAS Melbourne, and 73 sailors died. And I'm thinking, what the hell did I get into? I lost 4 high school friends by the end of 1970. I marvel at the change in attitude of people toward veterans now, the way it was back when I was in and when I came home. I'm grateful for that.
Tim Wonderly from Parma, Ohio. Moved here in 1953 with my parents and haven't left since. I was drafted into the Army in '69. I went over to Ford Island, Hawaii, which is a naval base as an Army soldier. And we printed maps on the backside of the island. Some of them were top secret, some of them we saw them, but we didn't know what they meant. I think only the people that received the maps knew what they meant. There'd be pictures of roads and jungle, and it would have north by northeast, and that would be it. That would be the only information that was on there. I had an older brother that served in Nam, and he came home with a Purple Heart and a bunch of combat medals and stuff. He didn't like to talk about his experiences, so we didn't bring it up as a family. You got to have respect for the people that do it, especially in these times when they volunteer to do this, knowing where they could end up or what they could end up having to do. It takes a special type of person to do that. And they deserve the respect of everybody who's left here.
My name's Roy Jack. I'm from Parma, Ohio, and I was in the Army, and I got there because I won the lottery, which is the only lottery I ever won, so I was drafted. I ended up, for basic training, I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Then after that, we stayed there for our advanced infantry training, and then from there I went to Fort Benjamin Harrison in Indianapolis, and then to Germany. And in Germany, I guess I did see a lot of our soldiers coming back from Vietnam. It was kind of a transient portion of where they would come through. And so you did get to see a lot of guys that experienced some horrific things, and you did hear the stories. There were a few guys that came through on their way home from Cleveland, and you know, they weren't in the greatest shape. They were, in a sense, kind of traumatized. Well, I'll tell you, I was kind of wild before I went into the service, and I guess I was a little wild after, but I think it's a great experience to learn respect for others and for your elders and for our country. I grew up pretty fast, and you know, being in the service, you do meet all different kinds of men and women from all different walks of life, just like this post here. There's a lot of benefits here that people take care of the veterans now that come up here, and there's a lot more respect. More people should appreciate what the veterans have done, and I'm glad that everyone's recognized on a day.